Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is, of course, Cameron. A video that I knew I would be making at some point over the course of the next few weeks, few months. Not quite one I thought I'd be making at this point, but nevertheless, one that needs to be made. One that we've probably spoken about this topic, I don't know, 100 times over the last 12 months on the channel. And it's a topic that we will continue to speak about, even if I've got to speak about it another 100 times, another 1,000 times, another 2,000 times, until change is made at the top of Everton Football Club. And this video isn't really going to be a screaming and shouting and ranting and raving type of video. It's not really going to be one that is massively emotional and, filled with expletives and swearing and this, that and the other. This is more a message to Mr. Moshiri, Farhad Moshiri, the owner of Everton Football Club, the man who ultimately makes the decisions, the man who ultimately has the final say on everything that goes on within the football club, be it managerial appointments, be it signings of players, and specifically for this topic, be it the decision to keep on certain board members who are quite evidently out of their depth. And that message to Mr. Moshiri is, it's time now. It's time. It's done. It's been done for a long time. It's repairable, irreparable, and what you are responsible for as the owner of Everton Football Club is making this change before it is too late. And I fear that it may already be too late. However, not making the change is at this point negligent, and has been negligent for a number of months, but especially after what we've read and what we've heard over the last 48 hours or so. This change needs to be made imminently, and if it isn't made imminently, then the relationship between yourself and the Evertonians is only going to get worse. I fear the relationship between yourself and Evertonians is irreparable anyway. However, if there is any slimmer of chance that it could be repaired, then this decision needs to be taken, and it needs to be taken ASAP. It needs to be taken yesterday, really. That's how important this is. And that decision is, of course, as I'm sure you will have all figured, to move on, retire, sack, whatever you want to phrase you want to use, lay off, pat on the back and say thanks for your time, whatever phraseology you want to use. Remove Bill Kenwright from Everton's board immediately. Remove him as chairman, remove him as a decision maker, remove him as having any involvement with this football club whatsoever. If Bill Kenwright still wants to attend games at Goodison Park as a paying fan like myself and like the rest of everybody else watching this video, then that's absolutely fine. If he is as big of an Everton fan as he says he is, if he is the biggest Everton fan in the world, then I'm sure he'll have no problem paying the £500-600 a year fee for the season ticket, or the £40-50 for a match ticket. I'm sure he'll have no issue with that, given he is the biggest Evertonian on the planet. But the time of Bill Kenwright being a decision maker, the time of Bill Kenwright being the chairman of this football club, the time of Bill Kenwright having any involvement at any level, whether it be executive or whether it be on, the food that is in the concourse before the game, that is done now. It is absolutely done, and there's no way back. There is no way back. I don't see any other option but to move Bill Kenwright on now, because it is completely done. Bill Kenwright has written a letter to the All Together Now campaign, and this was released on Friday evening, around about 4:30 on Friday evening, 5 o'clock Friday evening, the eve of an incredibly important game of football for Sean Dyche, an incredibly important game of football for Everton Football Club away at Crystal Palace, a game that we really needed to get all 3 points in after a massively disappointing defeat to Fulham last weekend at Goodison Park. And Bill Kenwright decided to release this letter on the eve of such an important game of football. The letter reads, "Dear All Together Now, I have read your letter to the club. Firstly, can I thank you for your care and concern regarding my health? You may well know that in April 2015, I was advised I had a chronic illness that would probably be with me for the duration. This is, pretty inevitably, only the start of a journey where the issues usually increase, and they have. What you may also know is that most people find a spirit that will not give in and hopefully not be beaten. Sometimes it's not easy, but there are many worse off than me. If I may, I will take this opportunity to address a couple of points from the rest of your letter. The chairman does not run the football club. We have a chief executive officer who does that, as is true with most clubs. In the eyes of most of the footballing world, Denise is amongst the best of the best. The truth is, she has to deal with what every other Premier League club copes with in a hugely competitive environment, in addition to the problems that the world has thrown at us over the last 3 years and closer to home in the last year or so. You may think it is not a massive challenge to relentlessly push forward the new stadium currently taking shape on the waterfront. I can promise you it is. Financiers amongst your group will tell you why. You write that the rumours tell you from well-placed and trustworthy sources that investment is imminent. Right now, that could be half right, a quarter right, etc. But that has been the situation for some time now. Again, those of you that know about raising hundreds of millions in investments will tell you it is a relentless journey where hopes are built and squashed in a heartbeat. But it's a quest that we undertake relentlessly, and we will succeed. We are succeeding. Farhad and myself are on it hourly, along with the board and its advisors. For what you believe to be the best interests of the club, you are committed to the removal of this board, as you've shown. For me, the horror of seeing Grant Ingles, our Chief Financial Officer, and Graham Sharp being attacked is more difficult to comprehend. Putting your chairman on a bedsheet in a distasteful way is something that, although it hurts, I have to get used to. But Grant and Sharpie on banners, question mark, exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark. The short window you refer to will, you infer, be helped by the removal of your board. Have you ever pondered whether your manager and players would agree with that? Whether Frank would have rubbed his hands with glee last year at the thought, rather than rushing to the director's box to acknowledge where his biggest support had come from and what other clubs around us? Are they thinking the Everton board are gone? It's going to be easier for us now. I'm confident of the answer to each of those questions. Finally, there is one indisputable fact. Your board cares. It's not nice going through what we have gone through, but it hasn't stopped the work rate, the desire to grow and improve, and the loyalty to this club and to Evertonians. I've often said that I would never deny the right to protest to any football fan, especially Evertonians. I know inevitably your day will of course come, just as I knew that I would find you a billionaire when the loud and long protests claimed I wasn't even looking. In the meantime, I thank you again for worrying about my health problems. In truth, a week off would be great, but I can't see it happening as it hasn't for many years. I wish you what I have wished every Evertonian since I joined the Blue family nearly 7 decades ago. A happy weekend, the season end we all hope for, and a return to better days thereafter. Chairman Bill. Now, when I read this letter on Friday evening, and I'm sure that I wasn't alone in feeling this, but I felt offended by this letter. I felt disgraced, and I felt like once again we'd been spoken to like a naughty child in a schoolyard who was misbehaving. Sit down, shut up, take what you're given and stop moaning. That type of attitude. Not the attitude of a chairman that cares or that wants the best for the football club. The attitude of a chairman that effectively has said, none of it's my fault, everything's going well, shut up moaning and get on with it. And that is a true reflection on the type of person that Bill Kenwright is. And I'm not here to sit here and slag Bill Kenwright off and how much I hate him in the stand. I don't know the fella personally. He might be a lovely fella and he might genuinely be a proper Evertonian. In all honesty, I don't really care. I don't really care if he's the nicest fella in the world. I don't really care if he's the most evil fella in the world. What I care about is that he is incapable of running Everton Football Club for many reasons. He mentions his health in this letter, which is a very clear reason. But not just that. He could be ill health, he could be in the best health ever. Doesn't mean that he knows how to run a football club in this day and age successfully, because he clearly, evidently does not. And this letter, as I've said, was offensive. It was disgraceful, and Bill talks about distasteful way to protest by putting the name of certain members of Everton's board on bed sheets and banners. Does Bill Kenwright not understand how many distasteful and worse adjectives you could use, things that he has done at this football club over the last 27 years of owning the football club? He speaks about he has never denied the fans a case of protest, and he believes that every fan should have the right to protest, especially Evertonians. That wasn't the case when he was calling protesters a disgrace to the football club a decade ago, when they were protesting against his chairmanship. Is that a word? I'm going to use it. Chairmanship. He wasn't saying, I believe Evertonians have the right to protest. He was calling those people a disgrace to the football club. So that tune has changed a little bit. And I have got a number of things that I find sickening from this letter. Absolutely sickening. Firstly, he starts the letter after he's talking about his health. He starts the letter, and listen, again, I'm not here to sit here and have a go at Bill Kenwright, with him being ill or whatever. As with anybody, I wish him a speedy recovery, and I wish him the very best with his health, because life and health is obviously the foremost important thing in this situation. But after he has spoken about his health, which very much seems like the start of an opera play, he says the chairman does not run the football club. We have a chief executive officer who does that, and it's true with most clubs. Now, within the first sentence of him addressing the points that he wanted to address, he has thrown Denise Barrett-Baxendale under the bus within the first sentence. Now, I do not for 1 second believe that Denise Barrett-Baxendale is capable of running Everton Football Club in the way that we need her to run Everton Football Club. Bill Kenwright is not my chairman, and Denise Barrett-Baxendale is not my CEO, because these people are incapable of running the football club. But that first sentence, if I'm Denise Barrett-Baxendale, I'm reading that, I'm thinking, well, nice one, because even though he goes on to say, and in the eyes of most of the football world, Denise is amongst the best, this, that and the other. Firstly, I think that's a load of bollocks. I think if you actually sat down with the owners of Premier League football clubs and spoke about Everton's board and whether they believe Everton's board are doing a good job, and any other football club in the world, I think the majority of them would be saying, well, evidently not. Yes, they're doing a great job for those football clubs because Everton are no longer a competitor, but clearly, objectively, they're not doing a great job because Everton are facing our second relegation battle in the same amount of years, having spent £700 million in the last 6 years. So clearly they're not doing a good job. But if I'm Denise Barrett-Baxendale, I'm reading that and I'm thinking, hang on, you've effectively thrown me under the bus here and said, I don't run the football club, and any problem you've got with the running of the football club, it's all on here. So you can cloud it all he likes by saying, and we believe Denise is amongst one of the best, but Bill Kenwright knows full well that us as Evertonians do not believe that Denise is one of the best in the world, and are seriously worried and concerned and frustrated about the running of our football club. So him coming out and saying she runs the football club is putting all of the blame on her, creating a further divide within a boardroom that is absolutely done at this football club. It is done. It is no more. The owner, Farhad Moshiri, cannot watch this go on any longer. You've got the chairman throwing the CEO under the bus completely to all of the fans. The rest of the letter, the rest of that paragraph reads, Denise is amongst one of the best. The truth is she has to deal with what every other Premier League club copes with. Fine. So Denise Barrett-Baxendale has to deal with what every other Premier League football club copes with. So why are clubs like Brentford, clubs like Bournemouth, clubs like Brighton, who have spent nowhere near as much money as Everton have in the last 4 to 5 years, why are they safe and secure and playing good football and working well and have a good plan and a good structure, but Everton aren't? Because surely Brighton have had to deal with the same issues that Everton have had to deal with in what the owner, in what the chairman is referring to here. So that isn't an excuse by saying, well, every other Premier League club has to deal with what we have to deal with. Yeah, exactly. And look at how some of them clubs deal with it. They deal with it brilliantly. Why don't we deal with it brilliantly? You're digging your own hole, Kenwright. You're digging your own grave with just that first initial paragraph. he goes on to talk about the problems that the world is throwing at us. I think he's referring to COVID and the pandemic. Again, them problems were presented to every other club within the country, and other clubs dealt with it, much better than what Everton did. He then talks about the stadium, which of course is going to be something that he talks about, because it's a point that he can get out there. But we're building a new stadium, so things aren't going that poorly because we're building a new stadium. That's not the point. The point is that stadium could be the home of Championship football or League One football, and I refer to something that Denise Barrett-Baxendale, who is, as Bill Kenwright believes, amongst one of the best in the world at her job. When the stadium was first announced, when it was first, brought to the forefront, and we'd seen the plans and we'd seen what it was going to look like, Denise Barrett-Baxendale quoted, "This is going to be a Champions League stadium for a Champions League team." Okay. So, are we going to ignore that? The fact that Everton may be a Championship team by the time we move into the new stadium? Are we going to ignore that fact? No, what we're going to do is we're going to push that we're building a new stadium. And it's great. And listen, I only have credit for anybody involved in the building of the stadium at Bramley-Moore Dock, whether it be Denise or whether it be anybody else, because it's great, it looks brilliant. And Denise Barrett-Baxendale might be the best CEO in the world at building stadiums. She might be the best CEO. She might have been absolutely faultless throughout the whole Bramley-Moore project. In that case, give her the job role of Everton Stadium Director. Absolutely fine, no issue. The point is she has not got a clue when it comes to the footballing side of things. We're not disputing the fact that she may not have done an unbelievable job in the building of the new stadium. As I said, fine. Give her that role. Bring somebody else in that actually knows about football, because Denise Barrett-Baxendale does not. It's as simple as that. She does not know how to run a football club. She might know how to oversee a stadium build. Brilliant. I'm sure there's thousands of other people in the world that know how to oversee a stadium build, but wouldn't know how to run a football club, especially not a Premier League football club. Kenwright then goes on to say about the investments, and he again tries to completely patronise them by saying you could be half right, a quarter right, etc. But the situation has been the case for some time now, and those of you that know about raising hundreds of millions, what he's effectively saying there is, let's be honest, he's saying there's not many people, he's trying to insinuate that nobody within the All Together Now campaign, in which I am involved with because I back it, and Toffee TV back it, and various other Everton fan channels back the All Together Now campaign. What he's trying to refer to there is effectively saying, how many of you know about raising hundreds of millions in investment? But the reality is there's actually a number of people amongst that campaign who are backing this campaign that do know quite a bit about raising hundreds of millions in investments. I don't personally, but I know full well there's a number of people that are behind this All Together Now campaign that do know about that. So in your attempts to patronise us, you've made a fool of yourself, Bill. And this is only the third paragraph of the letter, and you've made a fool of yourself 3 or 4 times already. He then goes on to say, but it's a quest that we undertake relentlessly, and we will succeed. We are succeeding. There is no situation that is currently going on at Everton Football Club, other than the stadium, which he isn't referring to in this paragraph, that I would suggest is succeeding. We're not succeeding on the pitch. We're not succeeding in terms of transfers. We're not succeeding in terms of recruitment. We're not succeeding in terms of, relationship between the fans and the board. We're not succeeding in terms of communication. We're not succeeding in terms of marketing. I could sit here and go on for days about how poorly Everton market their players, how poorly Everton market new kit launches, how poorly Everton just are at taking advantage of certain situations, i.e. James Rodriguez joining the football club. We had a little bit of a thing for a couple of days in, a couple of projected images, in New York, etc., and then it just died off completely. With the majority of the time James Rodriguez was at the football club, we didn't market him properly. Various other situations I can give you an example. The away kit this season, the pink away kit, was launched whilst we were in America. It was worn for the first time against Minnesota. Everton had done a reveal of the kit in the Mall of America, the biggest mall in the world, with hundreds of Evertonians present, and yet they didn't have the kit on sale in the mall on the day. An example of a failure. If that kit was on sale on that day in the mall, no doubt that a number of those Evertonians that were present would have gone and bought it so they could have it before anybody else, but they didn't. They didn't think about that. Everton are not succeeding anywhere, in any sense of the word. It's as simple as that. It's all well and good having a brand spanking new stadium. You may as well give it to Take That or Beyonce or Jay-Z or Eminem or anybody else. Everton are not succeeding. And again, what that sentence is delusion. It's a quest that we undertake relentlessly and we are succeeding. You're deluded. You're absolutely deluded. He goes on to say, as you've shown, the removal of the board is what you believe is in the best interests. Listen, we all know the paragraph that I'm sure a lot of people have spoken about since Friday. The whole, for me, the horror of seeing Grant Ingles, our chief executive officer, and Graham Sharp being attacked is more difficult to comprehend. Putting your chairman on a bedsheet in a distasteful way is something that, although hurts, but Grant and Sharpie on banners, again, as to be expected, it's all very theatrical. It's all very, oh my God, Grant and Sharpie on banners. Wow, how could you possibly do that? You're not fooling us, Bill. You're not fooling us with your theatrics. You're not fooling us with your big words. You're not fooling us with your, with your attempts to try and sit us down and pat us on the head and tell us off. You're not patronising us. You're not fooling anybody. Anybody. Graham Sharp has got his own mind. Graham Sharp is old enough and mature enough to make his own decisions. Graham Sharp should be looking at this situation and thinking, I am ruining my reputation at this football club with these fans by even being associated with certain members of this board. Pardon me. Graham Sharp chooses to remain. Now, whether his choice to remain is because he wants the best interest of the football club and he genuinely believes that change will be made and he can front that change, or whether he remains because he enjoys getting a pay pocket, I don't know. I'd like to believe it's the initial case, but I really don't know. But the reality is this Everton board are failing. And again, I'll take it back to the bit of the statement we talked about before when Chairman Bill, your Chairman Bill, not my Chairman, said, the Chairman does not run the football club, we have a CEO to do that. So, okay. So what Bill Kenwright has said so far in this letter is he doesn't run the football club, Denise Barrett-Baxendale does. And he's also said that, he's insinuated that putting Grant Ingles and Graham Sharp on banners is something he can't comprehend. So there's 4 members of Everton's board, I think, currently. I may be wrong. He's saying he isn't responsible because he doesn't run a football club. He's saying Grant Ingles and Sharpie aren't responsible. And, it's something he can't comprehend. So he leaves one person responsible. How is that going to make Denise Barrett-Baxendale feel? Anyway, the next paragraph is laughable. Have you ever pondered whether your manager and players would agree with that? Yeah, I have actually pondered. And I would love to sit down in a one-on-one room with no cameras, with no microphones, with no nothing, and ask the players and ask the manager, whether it be Frank Lampard, whether it be Sean Dyche, whether it be Carlo Ancelotti, about this current board. Because it's all well and good, these players and managers coming out in press conferences and in interviews and saying about how much the board love the club and how much Bill Kenwright loves the club and this, that and the other. Of course they are, because you'll never get an Everton player or an Everton manager past or present, coming out and saying, well, certainly not of recent times, coming out and saying, no, that the owner doesn't give a shit, he's not arsed, and the chairman hasn't got a clue what he's doing, and the CEO doesn't know how to run the football club, because they would be immediately removed. Their £100,000 a week contract would be ripped up, and they would be vilified in the media for going against their employers and this, that, and the other. And plus, those interviews, if that was to happen, would never see the light of day, because the interviews have to be passed by the football club to go out. And if they would have been anything distasteful, as Bill Kenwright likes to say, said about the board or the owner or anybody else, it would not have been allowed to air. So yes, I have pondered, Bill, and I would love to sit down with the Everton manager, Sean Dyche, or Frank Lampard, and a number of the players, one-on-one, in a room, no cameras, no microphones, no record of it, and just say, listen, how do you genuinely feel about the board? Because it's not a case of asking Alex Iwobi, does Bill Kenwright really care? It's a case of asking Alex Iwobi, do you think Bill Kenwright is good enough to run this football club? And if you're wondering why I'm referring to Alex Iwobi there, it's because he done a podcast not long ago where he spoke about Bill Kenwright, and he was very complimentary of him. Again, if he was anything but, that podcast wouldn't have aired. The next bit is bollocks. Whether Frank would have rubbed his hands with glee last year at the thought, rather than rushing to the director's box to acknowledge where his biggest support had come from. It's nonsense. There's actually a video going round of that moment, and you can clearly see Bill Kenwright ushering Frank Lampard to the director's box. He doesn't rush there. He's enjoying his time with the fans. He's celebrating. He's lapping it up. And Bill Kenwright actually tells him to come to the director's box. And, again, if Frank Lampard turns around and goes, no, I'm not coming, then it clearly shows on camera in front of everybody that there is a division there. He's not going to do that. It was his employer. He was lucky to be in the job, let's be honest, anyway. So, of course, he's going to rush and go straight to the director's box. Of course, he's going to do that. So, again, same dramatic theatrics, things that didn't really happen, that Bill is trying to portray did happen. When if you actually watch the video, Frank Lampard is instructed to go up as opposed to going up off his own back. Kenwright then says, finally, the indisputable fact, it's not indisputable because I dispute it every single day, is that your board cares. Again, I'm not quite sure that's the case. And then a load of nonsense about it's not nice going through what we've gone through, but it hasn't stopped the work rate. Well, it's not nice for us as Evertonians either, but the reality is we can't change it. You can't change it. You can change it by walking away. You can change it, Mr. Moshiri, if you're watching, by removing Bill Kenwright, who very clearly is incapable, and as this letter reads, very clearly is delusional, and is showing himself that he isn't in the frame of mind to run a football club and to communicate with its fans. It's as simple as that. Again, he speaks about never denying the right to protest to any football fan. Again, as I said, he did 10 years ago. He said that those fans were a disgrace. He says, I know inevitably your day will of course come, but just as I knew I would find you a billionaire when the loud and long protests claimed I wasn't even looking. You're right, you did. You found us a billionaire who your interests were at best with. A billionaire that you knew was going to keep you in a job regardless of how bad you performed in that role, regardless of how negligent you were, regardless of how poorly you ran this football club. You knew that he was going to keep you in the job, and that's why you chose Farhad Moshiri. And as I'm saying, if Farhad, if you are listening, prove this man wrong. He found you. You are the billionaire he's referring to. Make the decision that is right for this football club. Again, he speaks about thanking Evertonians for their health problems, and he talks about how long he's been an Evertonian and this, that, and the other. And he ends it with Chairman Bill. As I've said, he isn't my chairman. He simply isn't my chairman, and I believe that there's a lot of Evertonians that feel that way as well. As I said, an incredibly distasteful, and I will use that word because that is the word in its proper form and not the way in which Bill Kenwright has used it, and quite frankly, offensive letter from a fella that shouldn't be associated with this football club anymore. And if anything screams that is the case, that this letter is. And it's interesting because Bill says, Bill talks often about how wonderful other Premier League clubs and other people in football believe Everton's board are, and how brilliant they think Everton's board are doing of a job. I'd be really interested to hear what a lot of people within football believe or think about this letter, and think about what the next move should be for Farhad Moshiri in regards to Bill Kenwright after this letter. I'd be really interested. Last night, at about 8 o'clock, the All Together Now campaign released a response to this letter, which reads, "Dear Chairman Bill," in quotes, "every Evertonian was gobsmacked to read your reply to the All Together Now movement. As chairman of the board, you are the apparent leader of our club. Under your control and leadership, our great club has endured its longest ever spell without a trophy and has been in more relegation battles than cup finals. You have thrown our CEO under the bus, something which will no doubt cause more upheaval in the boardroom of the worst run club in the league. We now find ourselves in yet another relegation battle. Our club finances are shot and we are under investigation by an independent panel of the Premier League. Our club is in crisis, yet your first statement in months is to complain about bed sheets. We are afraid that all your letter has done is confirm the size of the gulf between you, the board, and the Everton fans. The players, alongside Evertonians, kept our club up last season. You trying to claim credit for our survival last year is an insult to the Evertonians who greeted coaches and sung our hearts out. Frankly, your letter reads as delusional. Your letter adds weight to the fact that you cannot and will not ever win back the confidence of Everton fans, nor are you welcome back to Goodison Park. Your position is untenable. The timing of your self-centred response was scandalous. As a movement and Evertonians, we care about the future of our club and are putting all of our effort into backing the team on Thursday as opposed to protesting. This is all in despite of your tone-deaf media release on the eve of the huge Palace game. Out of respect for our club, go now and allow us to unite for the relegation fight your mismanagement has left us in. Hashtag all together now." And I don't really want to add anything to that because there isn't a word, there isn't a letter, there isn't a full stop within that response that I disagree with. I agree with absolutely every single bit of it. Every single bit of it. And as I'm sure you all know, and as I've mentioned before, I backed the All Together Now campaign, and that response, I couldn't have put it in better words myself. It was perfect. And as I've mentioned, as this video is, it's not a screaming and shouting video. It's not a video to go in on Bill Kenwright or this, that, and the other. It's simply a message to the owner. Farhad, Mr. Moshiri, do what should have been done a long, long time ago and end this now. Because it is done. And you are just prolonging the inevitable. As the chairman himself admits, this is the inevitable. I want to mention EFC Fans Forum released the response on Saturday afternoon. They said, "We've got 7 games left to retain our Premier League status, 7 cup finals. Evertonians have always done and continue to do everything they can to get behind the manager and the team. Thousands will be up at the crack of dawn tomorrow to go again." That is in referring to the Palace game. And they'll be back at Goodison next Thursday. The tone, content and timing of the chairman's statement tonight is an insult to our great club and Evertonians. And again, similarly to the All Together Now letter, I absolutely agree with every single part of that response. So there you go. As I've mentioned, it's simple. It isn't a difficult decision. It is a decision that should have been made a long time ago, but it is now a decision that I firmly believe has to be made. And yeah, as I've just mentioned, the time of Bill Kenwright and Everton Football Club is well and truly done. It's gone. It's done for. And if the owner doesn't see this, then as I've said before, and as I fear, the owner is as bad of a problem as Bill Kenwright. However, the owner is the decision maker. As I said earlier, the owner is the one who ultimately decides who stays and who goes at this football club, be it players, be it managers, and be it board members, and be it chairman. And I think I speak on behalf of a lot of Evertonians when I say this. Bill Kenwright is not our chairman. He's not my chairman. He effectively at the moment is just a distraction. And he needs to be removed. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And we can take all of the personal issues and the personal digs away from his point of view and maybe from some Evertonians' point of views as well. The fact of the matter is, the cold, hard fact of the matter is you are dealing with somebody that is very clearly delusional and incapable of running this football club. And that letter that he put out on Friday screams that. Anyway, we're going to leave it there. If you have enjoyed somehow, I don't know how you would have enjoyed, then please leave a like. Subscribe if you're new as well. That would mean a massive amount to me. And yeah, we'll be back at some point with the game review to that Crystal Palace draw. So big thanks for watching. See you later.